From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, March 23rd. A really soggy start to the morning, temps in the low 50s. Showers are going to stay throughout the day with storm chances this afternoon. Some of them could be severe later this afternoon, a marginal risk of severe weather for Indianapolis and points east, while areas to the northeast have a slight risk. The main threats with the storms will be damaging winds, hail, and a spin-up tornado. The severe threat ends tonight with lows in the lower 40s. Breaking overnight, at least one person is dead after a tornado ripped through a New Orleans suburb. This is the same weather system that we're seeing the effects of here in Indiana right now. Now, this tornado barreled through a neighborhood less than 10 miles from the center of downtown New Orleans. Homes were destroyed and ripped apart. Cars were damaged. Even this morning, we saw a school bus on its side. It's the same area that was devastated by Hurricane Katrina in 2005. A local TV station, listen to this, it was capturing live on TV the moment that the tornado touched down.
There it is. You can see it. Okay, folks, get to your safe place. We've got a definite tornado. Folks, this is something I hoped I would never see.
Crews are now assessing damage in the area. The storm system is part of a long line moving east, hitting areas of the Gulf Coast the hardest. Nearly 30,000 customers are without power across Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. After a 14-year run with the Falcons, Matt Ryan is officially home with the Colts. He says when growing up, he wanted to be like Peyton Manning. Now he's come full circle. The 14-year NFL veteran and 2016 league MVP left Atlanta and arrived at Lucas Oil Stadium, hoping to become the third straight veteran quarterback to win a Super Bowl in his first season with a new team. The Colts gave up a third-round pick, number 82 overall, to make sure Matt Ryan came to the Hoosier State, along with his wife and two sons. He says he's leaving a tight-knit group with the Falcons for another one.
I knew, at some point I was going to need to make a decision on whether or not I wanted to stay. And as I looked into it, I knew there was only one spot I wanted to go. And there was no doubt that if I were to make a move, this is exactly where I wanted to be. I'm thankful for, the belief from Mr. Irsay and his family, from Chris Ballard and his staff, and Frank and his coaching staff, and also the Falcons organization being understanding of me wanting to go in another direction.
Ryan is expected to become Indy's sixth different opening day starter in 6 years this fall. He's joining the Colts with Super Bowl aspirations. The Colts lost in the wild card round following the 2020 season and losing in the final two games in 2021. Ryan says he feels confident in this new role and is excited to start practicing with the team. And two young suspects are under arrest after an armed robbery and chase in Boone County. The robbery happened just before 6 last night at a house in a Whitestown neighborhood. Police say the pair robbed someone at gunpoint, then took off in a stolen car. A short chase, first in the car, then on foot, ended with a police dog catching and biting one of them, and officers later captured the second. Juwan Gordon is 18. The other suspect is a 15-year-old boy. Both are facing preliminary charges of armed robbery. Police in Carmel are asking for help identifying two people in a theft and fraud investigation. Police say the pair used stolen credit cards at a Walmart near 86th and Michigan Road on March 2nd. The store is in Indianapolis, but Carmel police are investigating because the cards were stolen out of cars in the Monon Center parking lot the same day. Investigators ask you to call Carmel police if you know who these people are. We've got their pictures from surveillance video on wishtv.com. Indiana Senator Mike Braun is walking back a comment about interracial marriage that has him taking widespread criticism. It happened in a virtual news conference. Braun said in response to a reporter's question that states should decide whether to legalize abortion. Then Braun said this when asked if that same principle should apply to interracial marriage.
When it comes to issues, you can't have it both ways. When you want that diversity to shine within our federal system, there are going to be rules and proceedings. They're going to be out of sync with maybe what other states would do. It's the beauty of the system. And that's where the differences among points of view in our 50 states ought to express themselves. And I'm not saying that rule would apply in general, depending on the topic, but it should mostly be in general, because it's hard to have it on issues that you just are interested in when you deny it for others with a different point of view.
News 8 asked Senator Braun's office for clarification on his position. In a statement, he said, "Earlier during a virtual press conference, I misunderstood a line of questioning that ended up being about interracial marriage. Let me be clear on that issue. There is no question the Constitution prohibits discrimination of any kind based on race. That is not something that is even up for debate, and I condemn racism in any form at all levels and by any states, entities, or individuals." When the state's new gun laws start this summer, a sharp divide is likely to linger on the issue. That's clear from my teammates' conversations with a top local attorney and a leader at IMPD. Guy Relford is a constitutional rights attorney. Chris Bailey is an assistant chief who made a strong late push to try to get the governor to reject the bill. The two disagree on the new law, which makes it legal to carry a handgun in public without a permit.
It doesn't affect who can lawfully possess a gun. If you're a criminal, a felon, a domestic batterer, you couldn't possess a gun before constitutional carry. You can't possess a gun with constitutional carry. If I want to go post my opinions on social media, I don't need to apply for a license from the government in order to go exercise my First Amendment rights. I want to go to the church of my choice. I don't have to go ask the government, may I please practice as a Methodist?
We have, right now that law puts checks on people who cannot possess a weapon. And I think taking that ability away will allow people to more freely walk around with weapons when they know they're not supposed to have them.
Indiana is the 24th state to adopt permitless carry. Governor Holcomb says permits will not be required, but they will still be available for free. Republican House leaders say they will try to override the governor's veto of a controversial transgender athletics bill. The bill would ban transgender girls from playing on K-12 girls' sports teams. The announcement from House Republicans came less than a day after Governor Eric Holcomb vetoed the bill. House Speaker Todd Houston says the goal of the legislation is to protect competition in girls' sports. Speaker Houston said in a statement, the fundamental goal of this legislation is to protect competition in girls' sports. This issue continues to be in the national spotlight, and for good reason, as women have worked hard for equal opportunities on the playing field, and that's exactly what they deserve. But Governor Eric Holcomb cited a lack of evidence of transgender girls out-competing non-transgender girls in Indiana, and court rulings that have paused similar laws in at least 2 other states so far. Now, LGBTQ rights groups are pushing lawmakers to uphold the governor's veto, arguing the bill is a bigoted response to a problem that doesn't exist. A vote to override the bill could set up a lawsuit. Now, Houston announced plans Tuesday for a May 24th meeting. That's when lawmakers could override the veto with simple majorities in the House and Senate. It's not clear if Holcomb will work to convince lawmakers to uphold his decision. And the transgender sports bill is driving an effort featured in your multicultural spotlight. Advocates for LGBTQ young people are planning new opportunities for them. The Indiana Youth Group exists to offer safe spaces and programs. Leaders say the debate at the State House has inspired an LGBTQ summer camp. They're calling it Queer Camp.
It gives young people the opportunity to come together, learn some physical activities, also learn team building, discipline, hard work, what it means to get up and be at a certain place at a certain time. So again, that discipline piece.
The camp is open to LGBTQ youth between 12 and 17 years old. It starts July 17th. And today in the war in Ukraine, President Biden leaves on a 4-day trip to Europe. He's set to meet with allies in a series of summits. NATO, the European Union, and the G7 are all meeting. According to the White House, the president will work with allies to coordinate military assistance for Ukraine and new sanctions of Russia. Biden will also work on long-term efforts to boost defenses in Eastern Europe and reduce Europe's reliance on Russian energy. Biden's first stop is Brussels, Belgium. Then he'll head to Poland to highlight the refugee crisis. And today, Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson will defend her record in a second day of questions from senators. In day one, she answered criticism from Republicans who say she's been too soft on crime, in particular her sentences for sex offenders. Jackson said she takes the nature of offenses and the stories of the victims into account. She also faced questions about her legal work on behalf of terror suspects at Guantanamo Bay and her thoughts on critical race theory. She said she would rule from a position of neutrality if confirmed.
I believe that judges are not policymakers that we have a constitutional duty to decide only cases and controversies that are presented before us, and within that framework, judges exercise their authority to interpret the law and not make the law.
It's not clear if she'll receive any Republican support. Questions from Democrats were largely supportive of Jackson. Democrats control the Senate by the slimmest of margins and hope to wrap up Jackson's confirmation before Easter. Health experts warn COVID-19 will rise again. The CDC says about 1/3 of the current cases in America are of the subvariant BA2, which scientists say is more contagious, though not necessarily more severe. Dr. Anthony Fauci says he expects an uptick in case counts, but he does not anticipate a full surge. He and other health leaders are urging everyone to be vaccinated and boosted. Now to Gibson County, Indiana. Toyota is pausing production at the Princeton assembly plant for 5 days next month. Toyota says the pause will happen on April 1st, 8th, 14th, 15th, and 18th. On those days, employees can either go in and work on other things, use paid time off, or take an unpaid day off. The Princeton plant makes the hybrid Sienna minivan, the Highlander SUV series, and the Sequoia SUV. About 7,200 people work at the plant. People living near Van Bibber Lake in Putnam County say their water system is unsafe and has been for years. Several people reached out to News 8 about discolored water. The News 8 looked at the most recent test. It showed no contaminants in the water. Neighbors there say they don't believe the results. Now, the Conservancy Board chair says it just received an $8 million grant to build a new water treatment facility and install new water lines. He adds the current system has at least 2 years of life left. NASA says rising temperatures are keeping Arctic sea ice from forming at normal winter levels. NASA says the ice reached its annual maximum extent of 5.75 square miles on February 25th. That is the 10th lowest level on record. The missing area of ice is equivalent to the size of Indiana and Texas combined. According to NASA, this year also tied 2015 as the third earliest peak ice level on record. The top women's tennis player in the world is retiring at 25 years old. Ashley Barty served up the stunner overnight through social media. In an Instagram post, Barty says she has given everything she can to the sport and is happy with what she has accomplished and is excited to start chasing other dreams. She is ranked first in the world and just won the Australian Open, her home country's biggest event, to claim her third Grand Slam singles title. She won the French Open in 2019 and Wimbledon in 2021. Finally, the legal conservatorship of actress Amanda Bynes is over. A judge in California ended it yesterday, 9 years after it started. The conservatorship started in 2013 when the star's parents said her mental health struggles made them fear for her safety. Bynes filed the request last month with the support of her parents. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.